Hello and welcome to the Coaches Show here on 90.1 KBPK. As you can see behind me, we have the Fullerton College Football field, and definitely new and improved since the last time you've seen us. So we're going to get the chance to talk to some coaches and players and see what they're working on in the off season and what they're looking forward to next season. Today I'm joined with Braedin Huffman, a receiver here at Fullerton College, a returner this season, also a bounce back from Colorado University. So Braedin, to start it off, let's talk about your season last season. You were one of the premier receivers for Fullerton, always reliable, always there when you needed to make a play. What do you think was the cause of that? What made you so clutch in those moments?
Just the repetition, man. You know, we come out here and practice, Monday through Friday, or really Monday through Thursday, and just the repetition of the game time situation is what prepares me, to come in clutch in those moments.
And during practices, I was on the team last year, and I would always be watching. You're a very intense person, not only in the games, especially in the games, but even in practice too. Why is it so important to keep up that intensity even in practices?
Just because the practice is the hardest portion of football, because we're out here for so many hours. We have the weather and just grinding nonstop. The game is, believe it or not, more relaxed because, we're not focused on 10 periods back to back. It's just, we come out here, do the drive, and then wait for the defense. That's why it's good to, practice how you play and always be so intense because the game will make it a lot easier.
So you say practice definitely prepares you for the games. And when you're in practice, what do you try and focus on each rep?
I actually try to focus on my weaknesses. So depending on the route, let's just say I'm running a post curl, my weakness would be curling and coming back to the ball. So I know on that specific play or route, that's where I need to focus. So that's how I look at it, is, where am I weak at depending on the play and the route.
All right. And you talk about weaknesses. Comparing to last season, what would you say your biggest weakness was?
I think my biggest weakness was not actually using all my tangibles. I believe I was generic and I was given the opponent's opportunities to play me. So this year, my plan is to use, everything that I know and use it all out on the field. So switch it up and make sure no one can guard me and stop me.
Most definitely. And what would you say of your skill set is, what's your best skill as a receiver?
My speed, 1,000%. I don't think anybody can keep up with me on the field.
And being so fast, how does that make you such a threat if just at any point in the game you can just get by your receiver?
Repeat that question.
So knowing that you can really, any person that's in front of you, you can beat them. So how does that, in terms of like connecting with your quarterback, how does that make you feel like, do you know before the play, okay, this is going to come to me, I'm going to be open, and then what is your mindset?
Yeah, so there are a lot of those where I know that this specific play, if the defense is playing how we want them, I will be getting the ball, especially on a deep route. And all I think about is just calming myself down, calming my nerves. And depending on what time we're in the game, my nerves will eventually be down. But if it's the beginning of the game, my nerves are still up. I'm still trying to get adjusted. So that's how I look at it. I always take the first 2 drives to see my opponent and see what my opponent can do. And then after that, that's game planning and me telling Coach Campbell or whoever's the quarterback, let's run it past him and throw it deep.
And when it comes to these crunch time plays, like maybe a long 3rd down or a 4th down or a crucial play where you need to convert, do you consider yourself that guy and you want to be the person to make that play every time?
Always. That feeling is the best feeling. To believe that and to know that, like, third clutch moments that I should be the guy and I'm most likely going to be the guy. It's very important to me, and I treasure that very deeply.
And so we're here at spring practice. We just got finished. What are some things specifically that you and also your coaching staff is working on for spring?
Right now, we're changing the offense up. So right now, we got new plays, new formation, new motion. So right now, we're trying to get adjusted to the new offense. But right now, with Coach Gardner, our new wide receiver coach, we're trying to develop a wide receiver core where anyone can play any position and know any route. So that's our biggest thing going into spring and developing with the wide receivers and the quarterbacks, is to take me and put me on the inside, or take Toby, put him on the inside. So we just want to be as versatile as possible.
And what would you say the benefits are if every player can play basically every spot on the receiver tree?
Everybody will eat, 1,000%. If whoever's inside, outside, somebody will be double teamed. Someone will always be open. So just having the adjustments to move everyone around provides people opportunities to eat and showcase their talents.
And then one final question, as we go back to the last game of last season, very close game, tough loss in that bowl game. How does that motivate you, and what are you thinking about as we build up before the next season?
Oh, that lit a fire in my soul. Just because even though it was a bowl game, you know, you still don't want to lose the last game of the season. You always want to end the season with a good win, a good bang. So now my job as a cabinet leader of the team is to motivate all these guys around us. So if we do play Mount Sac again, or whoever we play first, second, third, fourth, will feel the fire of that last loss that we had.
And get your revenge.
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
Appreciate
this
you,
has
my man.
been
Thank you.
Braedin Huffman, wide receiver here at Fullerton College.
Good afternoon, my name is Javier Hiron, and I'm here with Chris Koontz, wide receiver at Fullerton College. Chris, for anyone who really doesn't know spring football, you guys are in spring ball. What is that?
Spring ball is basically getting us mentally and physically prepared to be great throughout the season. You know, like new plays. We're just getting ready for the season, getting prepared for it. That's pretty much the whole role.
What's one of your top assets as a wide receiver?
One of my top assets, I would say, would be my speed and then consistency, and just like being aware of what is going on in the field, and just making plays.
Would you say agility is a huge key part at your wide receivers?
Oh yeah, it's a major key, because you know you got to be agility, especially for me, I got to play inside receiver, you get that slot, so you got to be agility after the catch, and when you're doing the routes, it's majorly important.
Would you say strong hands are important or big hands?
Strong hands all the way. You have big hands. I mean, they could be big, but they could be big but not strong. But if you have strong hands, you're gonna be great.
As a player, do you consider yourself as a leader, or do you consider yourself as another player in the locker room?
I consider myself a leader on the field, because I have multiple different roles besides receiver. I return. Sometimes I punted last season. I punted a little bit. I'm multi-role, so I would call myself a leader on and off the field.
Okay. And you were just mentioning about you play different positions. Talk to me about like returner or something like that.
Okay, so last year I kick return a little bit. You know, freshman year, coming out of high school, you know, I just learned the system, returning a little bit. You know, I just gotta feel that college vibe, you know, because it's way different from high school, even at junior college, way different. And you know, punting's punting. I just got the ball, kicked it. It is what it is.
Okay, that's funny. Is it? Do you really have to have a big leg, or just like really good ball placement?
You have to have both, believe it or not. You have a great leg and great ball placement, you're gonna be a great punter, to be completely honest. You guys gotta be smart, especially us, because last year our long punter got hurt, and so we had to give a replacement. Our linebacker actually snapped for us, Jalen Early. So he snapped, and I took over at punting because I caught the ball, and I would just roll out and just read the play and just kick it away.
Nice. So you're saying about awareness. Can we add hand-eye coordination? How important is that during your role of wide receiver?
Hand-eye coordination, it's like in order to catch the ball, you got to have great. Honestly, not even in order to catch the ball, you just got to have to have that awareness to catch the ball while someone's on you. Like the hand-eye coordination's got to be on point. Someone's on you, like a cornerback, for example. He's playing you man press one-on-one, and the ball's coming at you while he's trying to defend it or deflect it. It's got to be huge.
What is man press one-on-one?
So man press one-on-one is slot receiver, the inside receiver, or the outside receiver, wide out. They can be pressed on you, and they're pretty much one-on-one with you. So wherever you go, the receiver goes, he's trying to catch up with you, and he's just playing one-on-one man with you. He's not playing man. Zone actually is the opposite. Zone would be like he's off the ball, he's just reading the QB and reading the zone, but one-on-ones is more like literally one-on-one.
And how would you handle that pressure against a DB?
How would I handle that pressure? So I would just, off the line, you just gotta work them off the line. You beat them off the line, you're pretty much winning 80-20 balls. You get 80-20 balls, you know, you beam off the line, you're set.
We're here with Jordan Smith, wide receiver at Fullerton College. And Jordan, here at spring ball, too many people kind of look at spring ball and they go, oh, it's the same thing as fall, but, you know, in the spring. What's the difference between spring ball and fall?
I feel like the spring it's about a lot more new. Like it's new offense, you know, but it's a lot about getting better and, you know, just really getting to know your team, your new offense, you know, stuff like that.
I mean, when you mention new, how hard is it to learn a playbook when it's just completely brand new in the spring?
It's pretty hard, you know. It takes a couple of weeks, but, you know, we rep through it every day, and it's really just about repetitions, getting better at it, and it eventually becomes like second nature. Before we got on the air here, you were talking about the field just a few moments ago. What is the biggest thing that you've noticed with a brand new field here at Fullerton? It's everything about it. You know, the field, when you fall, you don't lose half the skin on your arm. You know, it's easier to, you know, make cuts, make breaks. It's a lot softer, a lot better. It's just, you know. I mean, when you mention that, a lot of people don't really realize you have to also break a field in the moment that it's brand new to when you start really practicing on it. What was the break-in process like for you guys? Yeah, so like the first few practices, it was pretty slippery because, you know, it's plastic essentially, so it's real slick. But I say after a week or two, you know, we got the rubber to, you know, pop up a little bit, and it's real good now. When you look at the color that this field has, does it take any effect on you when you're running a route and trying to place where you are on the field? I say at first, you know, I had mixed feelings about it, but I don't think it affects your game at all, or your vision. When you have a quarterback in spring ball, that's one of the other things that's brand new for you guys, wide receiver-wise. How do you develop chemistry with 1, 2, maybe even 3 or 4 guys who you haven't played with yet? Repetitions. It's all about repetitions, you know. The more balls they get to you, the more routes you run, is the better they learn your speed, the better you learn what they're thinking, where the ball is going to be. Do you prefer a ball that is a lot harder, more inflated, or one that's a little softer? I say softer, you know, easier to catch. Easier to catch? Yeah, okay. Easier to grip. When you get let's set a scenario, right? You're going down the middle of the field, you get the football, maybe at the 20, 25-yard line, looking towards the end zone. What's the first thing you're looking to read as soon as you get that ball in your arms? Who's around me? You know, who's around me, and then the fastest way to get to the end zone. You know, it's all about getting in the end zone, so the fastest way to there. You mentioned your versatility earlier was one of your biggest assets. How do you feel you use your versatility on the field? With everything in my game, you know, whether it comes to speed, you know, even the mental aspect, reading the field, physicality, like I use it everywhere in my game. You mentioned reading the field. One thing we talked about with our running backs coach last year was that the running backs in this type of offense almost have to be like quarterbacks when they read the field. Yeah. Do you feel that that's the same with inside or outside positioning wide receiver wise? Yeah, I feel like we have some outside routes that you have to read, but really with the inside receiver, almost every play you have to read the defense. You have to know where the soft spots are in the zones, you know, whether it's man or zone, just it's a lot of reading. So the insides have a lot of, you know, responsibility on that. When you look at quarterbacks who are a lot more mobile versus a pro-style offense type of guy, more of a stand-up guy, how are you able to, we'll say, develop a chemistry with someone who's mobile when they do have to improvise and go out of the pocket? I say there's pros and cons to both, but really a mobile quarterback, I feel I can have a better relationship with, because, you know, when it gets like chaotic back there and they have to get out the pocket, that's when the chemistry comes in. You know, we got to know where they want us, you know, and they got to know where we're going to be. So that's something in terms of, we'll say, improvisement that you guys have to work on well beforehand. Yeah, and we work that a lot. It's more and more in the fall, but we have those drills that we work in a lot. So, number one thing here today against the DBs, how do you think your group did? Fantastic. We scored a lot on them. You know, the defense, they did their thing too. They had a couple picks, but I feel like offense is going to be real great. That's what we'll look for in the rest of spring practice. Yeah. Thank you very much, Jordan. So as we take a look at how Fullerton College did last year, well, we kind of got to give a little graphic towards the end of the season. Now, if you remember, in 2021, Fullerton College had a really nice start to the season.
They had 5 wins going into November and were looking for a chance to kind of solidify themselves, an opportunity to get into an additional playoff chance. So all they had to do was beat Golden West and they'd be the conference champions. They faced Golden West, a tight defense-packed affair, and Golden West came out the victor at 12-7. And Golden West wins the SCFA Southern Conference Championship. Then afterwards, Fullerton would go down to San Diego Mesa, lose that one, and they would end up dropping the SCFA Patriotic Bowl as well. So the end of the season didn't really finish out the way that the Hornets would have liked, and that's where you start to get into those answers that the athletes gave us about looking for a chance to get that revenge in 2022, because 2021 didn't finish the way they would have liked. As you see there, the team summary, 6-5 overall. 3 of those losses, 3 of those 5, came in the final month of the season, and it was 3 straight to end the season. So 3-2 in conference they go, losing 3 at the end of the year. At home, they were fantastic. They went 4-1, and on the road, well, not as good as they would have liked. 2-3, and neutral site, technically. Over at Mount Sac, they went 0-1. So Fullerton College not ending 2021 the way they would have liked. When you take a look at some of the stats for the team overall, in 10 games, 275 points, 27.5 points per game. Not exactly those Fullerton College numbers that we're used to in the last 5 to 6 years, but again, remember, this is a team coming off of a COVID year. Everything was wonky. Sometimes that offense would be electric. Sometimes that offense would try and get itself going later on in games. On the other side, for total offense in conference, they averaged about 26.8 points per game. Right around close to 400 yards per game overall, 350-ish in conference. So when you look at that overall team offense, again, still electric, still really good, still towards the top of the CCCAA, but looking to get back to those Fullerton College type numbers coming up in 2022. You see the passing leaders for Fullerton College at quarterback Chandler Galban, who finished as the majority starter, if you will. 10 games played, 57.5% completion rating, 1,847 yards. He threw for 7 touchdowns and also threw 9 interceptions as well. Looking to improve on that. And you'll see and hear a little bit more about Chandler as the weeks roll on and also in the fall as well. Rushing-wise, Brandon Rankins, who ends up transferring from Fullerton College to get another opportunity at the next level. The sophomore, 141 rushing attempts, 725 yards. Trey Edwards, Chandler Galban were the other 2 who are right behind him in terms of overall rushing. Now, when you go to the receiving core, Kashawn Griffin, 10 games played, 39 receptions. We saw him a few years back. He was fantastic, sets records for Fullerton College, steps into more of a receiving role for Fullerton, does really well. Right behind him, a guy we talked to earlier, Braedin Huffman, 10 games played, 30 receptions. He was really good for Fullerton College. Now, when you look at the overall standings, we mentioned them earlier. Fullerton, if they had beaten Golden West, they would have won the conference championship because they would have held the tiebreaker over the Rustlers. But instead, Fullerton College drops that one to Golden West College, and San Diego Mesa also ends up in the top 2 because of that win over Fullerton College towards the end of the season. So those last 3 games, pretty crucial for Fullerton, didn't come out the victors. That's why you see them towards the middle of the pack there. The most concerning thing is just the overall rankings and where Fullerton ended up finishing. Top 16 in the state of California, which is nice. 6-5 overall. They had one of the toughest schedules in the entire state, if not the country, in 2021. They go 6-5. They get the credit of being top 20, but they don't finish in the top 10. So, looking to improve on that going into the 2022 season, as Fullerton College finishes 6-5, looking to change that this fall.
Okay. Today I'm joined with Coach Keenan Gardner, who is the wide receiver coach and passing game coordinator here for the Fullerton College Hornets. Now, to start it off, we just got done with spring practice. What's it like to be back on a regular spring practice schedule after 3 years of the pandemic?
Yeah, well, basically we want to compare year over year. With last spring, we were out here because there was no season. We were able to go in pads. So that was nice to be able to evaluate guys in full pads there. But for California junior college football, generally it's in shorts, like say we are now, but it also gives us a chance to see the high school guys. So it's nice to be able to get a blend. Some of the guys we're projecting coming in shorts and shirts, but it doesn't replace getting a chance to evaluate guys in full pads like we did last spring.
And what has kind of been the emphasis on practices or spring practices so far?
Really is just repetition, getting comfortable with the offense. What we'll do is, like I said, we threw just since the winter workouts in January, we just kind of did some light throwing with the receivers and the quarterbacks and the backs, just to kind of introduce some of the concepts. So then in the spring, what we do is the base part of our offense, we try to introduce it in levels to where we'll follow up again. The same things we'll work on the summer, but once we get it in the summer, they've seen it before. So right now it's just repetition.
And now, last season you were the running backs coach, and this season you're coaching the wide receivers. What has the transition been like for you?
Easy, because I was a wide receiver coach first. So the thing about it is, in my 5 years here at Fullerton, I've coached everything but the quarterbacks on offense at this point. And like I said, I'm a football coach. But the transition was easy because prior to coming to Fullerton, I was a wide receiver coach at Riverside City College. I also was GA as a wide receiver coach at Montana State. So this is my natural home, played the position. So the transition is real easy.
So would you say wide receiver is your favorite position to coach?
When you say favorite, it's easier because it's natural to me. I wouldn't say it's favorite because I learned it forced me out of my shell to coach the offensive line in 19 because that's something as a concept I understood, but actually having to coach the position, be responsible for it in the scheme, that was a challenge and I enjoyed it. It's kind of a world of its own, so I enjoyed it in that sense. This is just natural. I can do this with, my eyes closed.
And now I have an idea of how your coaching style is, but how would you describe your coaching style?
My coaching style is very aggressive. No, I'm a big about accountability. I know that's junior college football, but it's college football. And the thing is to get guys to learn the accountability of the difference from high school to college. That everything they do, from going to class, to weight room, to film, to out here on the film, they have to be accountable to themselves, to the coaches, and to the team. And the biggest thing, that is the biggest transition, is guys making that adaptation to being accountable for that. And I'm just one of those that drives that, like I said, make sure guys are accountable, because I believe that the guys that are here and are accountable and are working, those are the guys that have earned the right to play.
And we're in the off season right now, and most casual fans would think, the in-season workouts and the practices are most important. Would you say is the truth, or would you say off-season workouts are just as important?
Oh no, football seasons are built from, if you say the season, for us, the season ends in November, December. From January until the start of camp, August, is when the season is built, because that's when the guys are in the weight room, getting their bodies right, able to watch film and study and actually digest it, because during the grind of a season, everything is 1 week and boom, you're on to the next. Boom, you're on to the next, to where now is the time for you to actually have the time, absorb it, learn, get your body right, work max out so that it peaks out in August. So absolutely off season is most important.
All right. And then, so when we talk about training in terms of the weightlifting and the speed training and the conditioning, how important is that in terms of football in total?
Absolutely, because like I said, the best ability in football is availability. And if you haven't worked on your body from the off season there, the thing is it's going to let you down when it's time to perform in the season. So all of the weightlifting, lifting heavy, like I say, in the winter, leading up to spring ball, in the spring, getting in more to speed and conditioning, training, fine tuning, and then you have to give your body a break. So that's why when we get to the end of spring ball here, May to June, we have a 2-week break, and then between summer camp and fall camp, we have a break, because you have to let your body rest and heal so that it peaks and it's ready to perform at the right time during the season.
All right. And then, so taking back over the wide receiver coach position, what are some things that you looked at last season that you want to improve on this season?
The biggest for me is the knowledge and understanding of the overall game for running receivers. It's one thing to have speed and athletic ability and be able to run around on the field, and it's a difference in understanding and knowing where you need to be, when you need to be there to be the most effective for the offense in itself. So right now with the spring and the summer, I'll do a lot of teaching. Things that we probably, haven't done a lot of here is a lot of read-it routes, to where the receiver isn't just responsible for coming off the ball and for, an example, he's running a post. No, if he's capped and the safety's over the top, he may have to break that off and have a dig. Or if, like I said, he's getting double covered there, he may push up vertical so that way he clears the out further. But it's understanding the concept of the play rather than I just know my job. So that's the biggest thing, is just teaching. It's so that they have an understanding, because the smarter receiver is always going to be the better receiver.
And you say the smarter receiver is going to be the better receiver. What are some things that you may be stressing in practice, whether it's technique, whether it's the basics, fundamentals? How do you kind of teach and get your players to kind of connect with you in that sense?
The biggest is never assume anything. A lot of things, by the time you get to college, and like I said, I'm using it in general, coaches just assume that a player understands a skill. What I do is we break it down. Everything that I ask a player to do in a drill we work, I give them the reason and explanation how it applies to the position in the game itself. So it's breaking down from simply today we work in releases. Everybody believes releases is your feet and the movement. No, it starts with your hands. If you've got a press receiver here, if you can't use your hands, there. But don't assume that they know that. We work our hands, then we work our feet, then we work. So it's just progression and teaching each level of the position, so that way they have the complete package once they're out on the field.
And now, when you look at wide receivers, typically the receivers are some of the more animated players on the team. What do you do to kind of, one, contain maybe some of those personalities that are too large, or what do you do just to connect with your athletes?
Here's that thing. It doesn't have to be. I'll never want to contain it. It's just about to that accountability. Is that anything that you're going to do going to be detrimental to the overall group, the team, and you represent the school and your family. So I want them to play with passion. You have to have that passion. But within that, there's a control setting. There's understanding that there's a time and place and a way to celebrate. And when you establish that relationship and you have that trust from them, then they realize how they.
And one last question. I asked one of your receivers, Braedin Huffman, about this. If we look back at the last season, that final bowl game against Mount Sac, a real close game, what kind of taste does that leave in your mouth, and how much does it motivate you for the next season?
Well, we're capping and leaving last season where it was at. To lose, anytime you lose to Mount Sac, that, like I said, it's personal there. So whether I've been here at Fullerton or ever say, losing to Mount Sac, you never, especially at the bowl game was at their home. So that's personally there. But as far as moving into the next season, the biggest thing I believe where we're transitioning as a team is that the run we made in 2016, that's over. We're building a new legacy here, a new group of. So everything that's happened prior, they didn't win it and they didn't lose it. This group here is going to be the start of the new legacy, and that's the main focus we have as a team.
All right, and then to end it off, what are some goals for your receiver group and then as well as the team?
The biggest thing that I would look for as a group is I would like to be able to have at least 10 of my receivers with catches this season, meaning literally 10 of them have played and have catched the ball. Secondly, as a group there, I would like to have at least 2 of my receivers over 800 yards. Which 2, but at least 2 of them, to where here we've spread it out some, and it's a good thing, but now we have some guys that we can feature that can get open. We want to make sure that they get featured the way that it is.
And then final goal as a team?
As a team is absolutely to get better every week and have fun. That a lot of it from last year, just as an overall, I don't think we had the same fun that we had with previous teams. So we're back to just having fun. As we're out here today, just been out with the guys, laughing, as you saw the DBs and the receiver, the coaches is competing and going at each other more. It's just to have fun.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
Appreciate you.
This has been Keenan Gardner. I'm Holden Remy. This is the Coaches Show on 90.1 KBPK.
So thank you very much, Holden, and Coach Gardner as well. We also want to give a big thank you to the wide receiving corps who was out here on the Coaches Show this week. For Javier Giron and Holden Remy as well, I'm Ryan Osborne, thanking you for joining us. You've been watching the Coaches Show on 90.1 KBPK.